Okay, so we're going to talk about breathing, and these are some basics to help start to improve our breathing mechanics. The protocols I'll go through with you are really good for lowering, down-regulating your nervous system, so lowering anxiety, helping you to sleep better. The mechanics side of things will improve the way you breathe in, which will relieve tension in the neck and musculature around the neck and into the base of your skull, so you get less issues with tension headaches and stuff like that. So with this stuff, I will have prescribed it to you in a plan or a program, but we're shooting for practicing it so it becomes second nature, so we don't have to think about it. Breathing is obviously subconscious. You don't think about it, you don't control it day to day. If for some reason we've got a lot of stress and things have happened that mean that our breathing mechanics have gone from optimal to less optimal, and we're starting to breathe into our chests and using accessory muscles in our neck to breathe rather than the diaphragm and breathing into our bellies, then that new pattern of breathing becomes your default breathing pattern. In order to change that and move it more back towards what we're looking for, which is an optimal breathing pattern, we're going to take the subconscious act of breathing, we're going to make it a conscious act, so we're going to go through some daily practice, and then once we're doing that consciously, it will then become optimal because we've practiced and we've retrained the muscles and the patterns to be how we want them to be. So that's just a bit of background about why we're doing this and what you're going to get from it. So first thing is, when we are doing any kind of breath work or practicing breathing, we want to make sure that your ribs are stacked over your hips. So imagine your hips are a bowl of water. We don't want to be spilling water out of the front or the back. So we want a neutral hip position, and we also want our ribs to be stacked directly over our hips. Again, we don't want to be tilting that rib cage forwards or backwards. Reason being, if we come off neutral and we sort of hunched over, we're restricting the access to the diaphragm and how well we can use it. And if we overextend, then again we lose access to our diaphragm because it's the musculature of the breathing down here is impacted by getting into this extended position. So breathing is really difficult in this position. If you don't believe me, have a go. So if you want to extend your backs and try and do some breathing, how we're going to do it in a minute, you'll quickly see that that's not ideal. So in terms of how you're going to practice, this is a sort of recognized practice position, which is called like Caesar sitting. If you've got a restricted ankle mobility or you find this uncomfortable, then we'd do something else. But my hips are neutral, my ribs are neutral, I'm nice and tall, and that gives me good access to my diaphragm. If we can't get into this position, then we could try a sort of something to sit on and go into a kind of cross-leg position. But again, we need to make sure that our hips are neutral and everything's nice and tall and organised and ribs down. Or you could sit on a yoga block, that kind of thing. Yoga block's good because it gives you feedback, so you can feel your sit bones and you can work out where neutral is. So that's the positions for practicing. You can just sit in a chair. So as long as ribs are stacked over hips and we've got access to this diaphragm, we can breathe into our three-dimensionally into our bellies, then we're all good. So breathing mechanics themselves, I touched on it before, but we wanted to try and, when we're practicing breath work, we want to utilize we want to draw air in using the diaphragm. And a sort of a good cue for that is hands round ribs or around just below the ribs. We're going to breathe in. So breathe out first, and then we're going to breathe in. I want to feel that expansion in all directions. That's mechanics we're looking for. And then the two, I'm going to give you two protocols now that you can practice. And again, I'll prescribe them to you in your plans. Always, when we're always practicing nasal breathing only. So mouth shut, and you're just breathing in through the nose, out through the nose. There's 4 phases to your breath wave. You've got the inhale, you've got a hold on the inhale if you want, you've got an exhale, and you've got a hold on the exhale. So those are 4 different phases of this breathing breath wave, as we call it. The first protocol there's a million different ways to do this, by the way. We can, depending on what state we're trying to get into or what we're trying to achieve, we can hold a breath at a certain place, we can hold it for a certain time, we can extend this breath and that breath. All we're going to do to start with is 2 protocols. One's a pendulum and the second one is box breathing. So these are both geared up to down regulate, so calm the nervous system down, get you into rest and digest as opposed to fight and flight. So if you're feeling anxious and stressed, these are good things to practice. I would say, again, I'll prescribe it to you, but 10 rounds, 10 breaths of either of these protocols is going to be really good for you. So first one is pendulum protocol. And with this, we're going to breathe in through the nose. We're going to take a full breath, full lungs of air. And then without any breath hold at the top, we're then going to breathe out, fully empty the lungs. And without any breath hold at the bottom, we're then going to breathe back in again. The goal here is the in-breath and out-breath are the same. So imagine we're thinking about a pendulum. It wants to be hitting the same position on both sides each time. So we don't want to do a massive long exhale and then a very swift inhale. So I'll show you what we're looking for, but a good starting point is 5 seconds. So 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. Really focusing on, you close the eyes, feel what's going on. We want to minimize, we want to have a turnaround at the top and bottom where we're not holding our breath at all. So it should be breathe in, breathe out. There shouldn't be any hold or any kind of tension at the top or the bottom. So we're in a nice seated position to start with. The first thing you do when you're going to practice any of this stuff is breathe out. So we've got a sort of our lungs are kind of half full at the moment. You're going to breathe out first to empty them before you start. And then we're going to go into that roughly 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. If that's uncomfortable, then do less. It doesn't matter how long those inhale and exhales are. You can go up to 10 or more seconds as long as it's comfortable, manageable, and you can keep the in and out breath the same. To extend it, we're just going to constrict the back of the nose a little bit, so the back of your throat, constrict it a little bit just to sort of make it harder for the air to get in and out, we can extend those breaths then. So the first one we're going to look at is pendulum. So we're going to I'll do 5 breaths, in, out, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. I'm just going to go by feel, but obviously using a stopwatch or something is really useful. So breathing out first, and then we're going to do our inhale. That is pendulum breathing. I'm feeling immediately zenned out and chilled after doing that. I don't know how many I did in the end. I think it was more than 5, but that's what we're looking for. And you should feel very calm, very zen as you're doing this. If it's a strain to do it, then you're trying too hard. So it's just breathing in, breathing out like a pendulum, just a very nice rhythm and pay attention to what's happening at the top and the bottom. Try and just turn it around without don't beat yourselves up if you can't, but don't try not to hold your breath at any point. So that's a pendulum protocol. Some days you'll be able to do a 10-second in and out. Other days you might be like a bit raised anxiety or a bit stressed or something, whatever. You might only be able to do 4 seconds in and out. That's fine. The idea is we're going to do either 10 breaths or 3 minutes at least of 3 to 5 minutes pendulum breathing. First thing in the morning is a good time to do it. If you're struggling to get to sleep, doing it before bed is a really good way to calm everything down. So that's pendulum protocol. The next one is going to be box breathing, which is quite well known. It's taken from yoga originally. It's now used by Navy SEALs and all sorts of people. It's a really good way to manage your state, your nervous state, so to calm everything down and again down regulate, so you lowering sort of stress and anxiety and chilling everything out in a nutshell. So for this one, it's going to be 4 seconds in, 4-second breath hold, 4 seconds out, 4-second breath hold, and that's one breath cycle. We're going to do 10 cycles of that. I'm just going to do a few for you. Again, if you can't do a 4-second inhale, then reduce it, but just make sure you do the same on everything. So again, we're going to start with an out breath and then we'll go into it. And that is box breathing. 4 seconds in, 4 seconds hold, 4 seconds out, 4 seconds hold. Another good one to do in the morning, or if you're feeling stressed or wired, it's a good one to bring everything down. So those are the two main protocols that you'll probably be getting prescribed. So let's get practicing those. If you've been told to do them, do them. 5 minutes for the practice, so pendulum and box breathing, 5 minutes minimum I would say is a good effective dose, and doing that daily will start to change how you breathe in through the day and will get everything where it needs to be.